Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me. I have been coughing up a storm lately, so hopefully that doesn't get in the way of this video, but I'm really glad you're here, and I'm excited to focus in on yet another new palette. It's pretty different from that Lawless Dreamy Dozen that I featured a couple videos ago. This is the Pretty Grunge palette from Huda Beauty, so we're gonna get into this today, just kind of chat about some of my personal thoughts on it, and we're gonna definitely do a look with that as well. Also, as you may notice behind me, I have some Christmas decorations up. I have like a rose gold tinsel around my window and a little tree back there, and we have our gold reindeer and stuff, and yeah, it's a little winter wonderland in my background now, but some of that gets cut off obviously so I can, do the video. But I hope you guys are doing well. It's tough here because if anybody in this house is showing some kind of concerning symptom, then it's like, okay, nope, mom can't come over and help me with Bubba because I don't want to possibly get my dad sick because he's been going through chemo. So that really stinks. So I'm really hoping everything clears up and life can be good as new soon. Also, on the day I'm shooting this Monday, Dad gets a PET scan, it's called. It's a very detailed scan of the body to kind of see, I guess, what sort of progress the chemo has been making so far. So I'm really praying that, I'm sorry. I'm really praying that everything turns out okay. I know they said at the start he'd be in for 6 rounds, and he's had 2 so far. It would be wonderful if he didn't have to go through any more of that. Or maybe, the chemo could be less intense, or I don't know how it could change. But goodness gracious, I wasn't prepared for this. I'm sorry, guys. Last thing I want to do is get on here and bring anybody down or, whatever. Because I do feel very positive about things. I guess sometimes, as you all probably know, with certain things you just feel so hopeful and so eager and so just ready. It's almost a little overwhelming. Anyways, friends, we're starting this video out with a face that's done and the brows that are done. So I thought I'd let you know what I do have on. I'm sorry if I forgot to do this the last time I did like a palette video, but I'm wearing my NYX Bare With Me Blur. The shade I wear is light neutral, and then the Bare With Me Concealer Serum, that's in light, and that's a nice little combo for me. Kind of a medium coverage, but everything looks really smooth and perfected. I set with Maybelline Fit Me. I even compared my Maybelline Fit Me to my Laura Mercier Ultra Blur the other day. Like, I just switched off and I was like, ugh, the Fit Me's like even more brightening. I'm really just getting back into that wholeheartedly. So I have that on. I have on some L'Oreal Infallible Bronzer because I just realized, I haven't used that in a while. It's the one that looks like this. I'm always kind of critical of it because I feel like there are other really good drugstore bronzers that don't cost this much, but if I have it, I will use it, and that's the one in the shade medium. So I put that on. My blush today is kind of a soft blush. It's the Physicians Formula Butter Glow in Natural Glow. I think I'm going to put a little more of that on. It's really pretty. It gives you kind of an hourglass or Laura Geller baked blush type of vibe. See how it gives you just a little bit of warmth there, a little rosiness. Really like that. And the glow is in it. It's just swirled in there. It's like a highlighter and blush swirled, but it's not too shimmery. And then I did put on a little bit of my Revlon Skin Lights there too. I don't know, I think when you start to cry, it just takes your blush away somehow. I don't know how that happens. And my brows are done. What I'm gonna put on now is some Milani eyeshadow primer, and we're gonna get into this Pretty Grunge palette. And it's kind of interesting how there are some darker palettes coming out. Natasha Denona has a really, really dark one. I actually received it in PR and I haven't used it yet. And there's a real difference in that palette and this palette. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Yeah, I'm sorry about tearing up earlier. It's just, I honestly do feel like I'm among friends here. I'm talking to friends, and so maybe that's why my guard comes down. So this arrived in PR. This is the Natasha Denona Xenon palette, and the packaging is really cool because it's got glitter in there, but it looks like stars. It really looks like a night sky. And granted, I have not gotten to this one yet. I haven't used it, but it is cool as all get out. Even the medium shades, they've all got like some gray in there. Like, this is a light shade, but it looks like, oh, it's gray. This one's more white, but see that gray coming out in almost everything? And then we look at Pretty Grunge, and what I can tell you is this feels more approachable to me. Why is that? Why do you think? I mean, I feel like it's because this has some earthy colors mixed in. This has some earthy midtones, like here and here. Some things that make me feel like, yeah, I can use some of this really dark stuff, but I can have a fairly easy time blending it out and making it mesh in with my skin really well. So I've done several different looks. I've done a more dramatic look with it where I layered in the cream. There's a cream in this palette and you could use that like liner. You could use it kind of like a base. I actually used it as a base for the actual black shadow, which is really, really black, Renegade up there. And, you know, it turned out to be a really nice look. I had some shimmer on the lid and I liked it, and I liked how it also felt blended out at the edges, just into my skin. And I credit those midtones for that. And then I've done a couple more natural looks with this palette just because I think maybe people's gut reaction when they see this. By the way, I love that it's mirrored here. That is a mirrored script. Isn't that cool? But I feel like a lot of people's gut reaction when they see this, it's like, ew, grunge, darkness, whatever. But I mean, it can create some pretty everyday looks. So I did a couple that just felt everyday to me. With this look here, I worked in some of the more mauve-y kinds of colors. Like there's a deep mauve in here. There's borderline of rosiness in here when you shear it out, and so I kind of worked that in a bit. And another day I kept all of the darkness above the eye. I didn't go under it with anything, and I thought it actually made a nice kind of holiday glam look with a red lip. I went very dark on the outside. I know I incorporated the black shadow there. I also went all matte with that look, so even onto the inner part of the lid, it looked really smooth, really pretty, I thought. Just giving you an idea, you know, try a dark look focused fully above the eye, and it gives it a very clean look, I think, and kind of that more traditional holiday glam type of feel. Today, I'm definitely going to try to spotlight maybe some of the more sparkly shades that are in here. That's the thing. We have depth, we have a decent amount of matte in here, and we have some very, very high sparkle as well in a few certain shades. The speckled one here called Haphazard actually looks rather plummy. You might not expect that. Strong AF, very shimmery gunmetal. Rebel right down here. Ultra sparkly silver. Maverick right beside it. Gosh, they're coming off similar on the swatches, but Maverick has just a teeny bit more warmth to it actually in real life, just seeing that. Stand Up right here is kind of a smooth shimmer. I've used that, and Avant-Garde right up on top. Kind of a dark near black shimmer. And the rest that I haven't swatched outside of this cream here are just classic matte shadows. So matte's right up here and here, here, down here, and these two as well. The potential is there for a very basic natural look with this palette. Even though you can go quite dark, you can easily blend out your edges. And I honestly think that if this was not packaged in black, but this was packaged in, let's say, a nude color, I think a lot of people would see this as a pretty good nude palette, honestly, with some flashy moments. So here's where I'm going to start, you guys. I'm going to go over to Brave here, which is our Dusty Rose, and I'm going to take that in my crease. We're just going to go back and forth with it. You're going to see this beautiful, like, this shade just looks so natural when you get it all blended out. So I'm just working that in my crease, and then as less and less gets on my brush, you know, I've put more down on the skin. Work out that edge, just blend that out, okay? Pick up some more. As far as the powdery kick up, I never feel like there's a ton with Huda shadows, although some of these shades feel a little softer to me. This is a situation where I feel like grunge is in the name, but grunge doesn't necessarily have to be in the look. It could be, but you can make this as classic and glamorous and however you want to see it play out, because you basically have a lot of basic neutrals in here. In my opinion, the more I've used it, the more I've liked it. Is it my favorite palette of all time? I wouldn't go that far. This is just a bare blending brush. I like what it can do. I like that it's a deep palette with a lot of balance. It's not giving me some of those certain colors that are just making me go, oh my gosh, wow. You know, there's some high shimmer in here, but we've seen that. There's neutral in here, but we've seen that. I really like the palettes that give me maybe some wearable feeling color combos in there. You know what I mean? Something a little different. It's hard to throw me different when I've tried so much, but anyway, don't get me wrong. I still like it. I've been enjoying it. And you know what just occurred to me? Something you might want to consider here. ColourPop Stone Cold Fox palette. If you have this goes to pure black and a really dark black. This has rosiness in there. This has like just that range of matte neutrals, and then also a flashy silver in there and a variety of other shimmers. Wow. I'm glad I thought of that. As I took my sip of coffee, I just saw this sitting there and I'm like, yeah, this really could probably imitate the look pretty well. You know how I love those large ColourPop palettes. I think they do a really great job not throwing in too much overlap. The quality always seems to be so good. Anyway, now that we've worked with Brave, I feel like I've been sitting here forever. I've only put one shade on. We're gonna do a little bit of a highlighter shade. We're gonna go up here to Heroin, which is kind of a buttery color right here. And by the way, that peachy one beside it called Liberty, that one really shows as well. But Heroin on the outside, that's gonna blur your edge even more. Really good. Okay, then I think I'm gonna take some of Nirvana right here. So this to me feels like it's got a little plum in it, right? A little bit of plum. And I'm gonna take that into my crease as well with my crease brush. So the brush I used to first apply that shade called Brave, sticking with that brush right now and getting right into that crease. And look at this pretty shadow that shade makes. That little bit of plumminess. It's interesting the change brands have made. Like, I didn't really see this coming as far as some of these darker palettes, because I feel like everybody was wanting these natural, like barely there, barely using a bronzer on my eyes kinds of looks. And now we're seeing some deeper stuff come out. Look how nicely that darker shade was able to handle basically being put on with a fuller brush. No fallout, nothing getting out of control there. Then I'm going to take some Grunge, which is our cream, and you could apply this like a liner, but I kind of like, because it's in here in the palette, I kind of like using it as a base. So I'm going to put that on like half of my lid. And if you're working with that pure black, that black is already really intense, the one called Renegade, top row. But I feel like this even, it adds just a little something extra. So I'm just dabbing that on with my finger. There have been some creams in other Huda palettes and you might think, well, how is that gonna stay creamy? But somehow they do. And then I wanna take some Renegade, that's our pure black. You do not need to like load up the brush a bunch. But see that? I just popped that in there, just immediate first brush stroke. Black as night. And something about when it comes in contact with that cream, it gets even darker. So maybe that is like the thing that really does make this palette kind of stand out, is its darkness potential, but yet having wearable shades that can help it blend back into your skin. Look at that. Like, we are just super duper dark out here. And you can really utilize that black to give you a lift. Flip your brush over, get it into your crease. We're gonna pull in a smaller brush too. And you can really use this to shape the whole like shape of your eye. You know, you can give yourself that lift. So I'm gonna go back into Renegade, this time with a smaller brush, small pointed. And we can go right into that crease and we can say, hey, we want that shape. Give yourself that lift if you want it, you know? Black can work for you. Black can do the work of, I mean, I think we did a whole video at one point talking about how you can shape your eyeshadow to really give yourself the look of like you're wearing false lashes, to give you that much of a lift above the eye, and that's kind of what we're doing here. I may still put on a false lash, but at this stage of the game, that's what it's looking like. And again, do you have a really solid black at home? Do you have some of these other colors that we've been talking about? You can follow along at home with something that's not this palette, but this might be what gives you the inspiration to try a look like this. Okay, so we've really worked that black in there in a major way, and I think it's honestly looking great. I'm gonna take my original crease brush and kind of hit the edge. So good. And then let's take this one called Liberty here. So it's a little peachy. And let's see that kind of coming over the edge. See, that shade can help a lot. So can Brave too. Those midtones, super helpful in merging your look out. We love it. I want to see some of this shade called Haphazard get involved here, because this does have a purpley look and I want to see how that kind of meshes in with everything. So I'm taking a little bit smaller flat brush. And you can see like it's a speckled color. Can you tell that? Dark shimmer with speckles of lightness and iridescence, I guess. And so I'm just gonna pull that across. I don't know if you can see the plumminess coming out. I'm really close to it, so I can see that. Oh, it's got a really nice, like actually not too intense of a sheen there. So I find myself blending that on my lid, and I'm lifting it up too a bit. And I'm going to just take up the remainder of my lid space with that. And then maybe we can even layer on something else that's glitzy, but yeah, let's do a dark look. See how I'm kind of going above my little crease line? I can see my crease coming in there. And this is probably of particular interest to those with hooded eyes. You know, I'm going above that crease line with that shade. It's able to be applied softly. That looks cool. And even though I've done a handful of looks with this, there's still more combos I've yet to explore. But so far, if I had to sum it up in a couple of words, I would say it's approachable darkness. Okay, look at that. We've just got that shade laying in there, going up a little bit, letting itself show and sheer. I would like to see a little bit of Rebelle, spelled like R-E-B-E-L-L-E. I'd like to see a little bit of that. And this seems like a finger application. It seems a little bit chunky. I'd like to see a little bit of that maybe spotlighting here and see how it does. Or is it going to just look too chunky? I don't know. Have I just messed it up? Hang on. It's going to take some careful patting. Alright, so I've got that on there. You do just want to kind of, if you're patting on with a finger, think about using your bare fingers on either side of it so it can actually get somewhat of a blend. Now I'm going back to that haphazard shade and, you know, make the effort to blend in on that. That's good. And then you can bring in your black as well, just a little bit. You got to rein that sparkle in. But wow, looks pretty. And then I know I mentioned these Laura Geller shadow sticks. I went on and on about them in the video, and then I realized, go on QVC's website, they're no longer available. But I linked in my last video, I'll link again to another set that I found that incorporated several of these. But I'm going to take my soft black here. It's a really nice shade. And I'm going to go down here to my lower lash line and just kind of get that whole thing. And this is going to set. Reason why I'm using this, I know it's going to set and wear all day there. And you know what? I'm going to use that on the upper too. Oh, this stick is so good. It's so easy. Just kind of hitting like the outer half. Really kind of surprised that yet again with this palette I have no fallout all over my cheeks. I've been kind of careful with the application, but sometimes careful doesn't cut it and it's still going to be messy, but I need to work this outer corner just a little bit smoother. But yeah, she stayed pretty neat for me. And this color, this one that I patted on the center of the lid, it's not like a pure glitter. It's definitely an eyeshadow. It's just got like some mega shimmer and sparkle in it. So there is my shadow look for today, and what I'm going to do is pop on some mascara. I think I'm going to do a little half lash too, just to glam it up a bit, and then I'll be back and we'll do some lips. Here's what's happened. I put on my Huda One Coat Wow mascara, and then I did Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water on the bottom. I also smudged just a little more shadow over the Laura Geller stick, just because I felt like, you know, let's make sure we're going there enough. Like I just wanted it thickened, softened just a bit. So the shade I used was Nirvana, that kind of plumbing one right there. Not the darkest in the palette, but deep enough to kind of make an impact. I just used my small pointed brush and ran that right along the outer lower lash line. Then I popped on my half lashes that are a little bit longer, a little more glam looking, and I kind of thought that the lazy liner I put down would cover them, but I could see the ends, so I had to add a little liquid liner just to make the ends blend in, make it look like it's sitting on liner, you know. But in the end, I think that all worked out. My lip, what I wanted to do was not too nude, but kind of, hello, somebody else just raced into the bathroom. For my lip, I wanted to go nude but not too nude. I used NYX lip liner in Nude Truffle. I filled in the whole lips with that. Then I used Smoky Rose from Revlon. That has a pearl finish, they say. It looks like that. So that's my main color all over, and then I just grabbed this gloss from e.l.f. It's the Ride or Die and Tough Cookie, because if you're using the grunge palette, you're a tough cookie, you know? Biddy's behind the camera now. She's producing this. We gotta take off the puffy pink headband if we want to really be tough. tough. And when it's all said and done, here is the look, guys, from the Grunge palette. Again, I think this palette does a good job of making a dark look very approachable, very workable. It doesn't have to be a dark look every time. Again, if this wasn't packaged all in black, just picture a nude exterior to all this and then think about the shades that are in here. What we're getting is a dark option, but there's a lot of like mid-tone basic neutrals to work with. I loved the all matte just above the eye look that I did if you want classic holiday glam out of this. The sparkle was fun today. I enjoy that in the center of the lid. What do you think of this palette, Biddy?
Pretty good. I like that one.
Of course you like that shade. She likes the real sparkly one. I've got that in the center of my lid.
Well, that's a nice palette.
What do you think about it? Which shade is your favorite?
This one.
I'm surprised you didn't pick this one because I see your name in it. Rebel. B-E-L.
Oh.
She said she likes Maverick right there. Anyways, everybody say thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you all again soon. I love you. Bye.
Bye.